In West Virginia, the American Heart Association has worked with our legislator to make sure that all of high school graduates have CPR as a high school graduation requirement, and also work with our 911 centers so that we can do continuing education for those 911 centers and make sure that they can also provide hands-only CPR over the phone. So I hope today that you learned something important, which is saving a life, and that you take it with you, and hopefully you can make an impact and make a difference.
Here in West Virginia, sadly, we lead the nation in heart disease. And we know that when a heart emergency occurs, time is of the essence. And in a state like West Virginia, it might take first responders a little bit of time to get to the scene of a call. And that's why CPR is such an important life skill for all of us to learn.
In my 25-year career as a firefighter, I think I've been on maybe just a couple dozen cardiac arrests where somebody was actually doing CPR before we arrived. And it's events like this that make it more accessible to those who want to learn and help their fellow man should they fall ill with cardiac arrest. So thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this. Whereas hands-only CPR is easy to remember and results in delivery of more uninterrupted chest compressions until more advanced care arrives on the scene. Now therefore, I, Steve Williams / Jan Rader, Mayor of the City of Huntington, Cabell and Wayne Counties, do hereby proclaim September 20th, 2019 to be Hands-Only CPR Day in the City of Huntington, and encourage all people, businesses, organizations, and institutions to join in honoring this distinguished event.
According to the American Heart Association, about 90% of people who suffer out-of-hospital cardiac arrests die. CPR, especially if performed immediately, can double or triple a cardiac arrest victim's chance of survival. It is my hope that the people who come to this event are trained properly to be able to possibly save someone's life someday. You all are truly an inspiration to the people of our state, and I thank you again for your commitment to this important cause. Sincerely, Carol D. Miller, Member of Congress.
There was this boy, and I had never met him before, and he introduced himself to me, and he said, "Hey, my name's Zach." And I said, "Zach, it's so nice to meet you. My name's Caleb. Let's go play ball." And so I was the pitcher that day, and it was a bright, sunny day, kind of like today, real pretty weather outside. And I wound up the first pitch and threw the ball, and the batter hit a triple. And he runs to third base, and everybody's laughing, having a good time. And on that second pitch, I got the ball, and I wound up, and I threw that softball, and there was a loud boom. And I was knocked down on my knees, and I thought I had just taken the softball to the side of the head, not knowing what was going on. And I jumped to my feet, and I looked towards first base, and I hear all the kids in the stands yelling and screaming. And I look to the outfield, and there's a couple people knocked down in center field. And when I looked to left field, there was this boy that I had just met laying on the ground motionless. Zach had just been struck by a bolt of lightning. And so I began to perform CPR, and I remember doing the compressions and putting my mouth and doing the rescue breathing, all of those things that I had been trained over and over with. And in like they read about the statistics, 14 minutes later, EMS finally arrives to take Zach off the softball field. And they backboard him and put him in the ambulance, and they yelling that he has no pulse. And so they've closed the doors, and they're resuscitating him and got him hooked up to the AED and the defibrillators in the ambulance. And finally, after 5 more minutes, they jump out and say, "We have a pulse." And so they rush Zach to the hospital, and he's got 3rd-degree burns all over his body. He's got what looks like the chicken pox because the heat from the lightning strike has boiled the sweat on his body and left little burn marks all over him. And so finally they rush him to Morgantown to the hospital, and I'm here to tell you today, a week later, after that event, Zach walked out of the hospital on his own feet. You never know when this will have an impact on your life and whose life you could save. Zach and I are good friends to this day. He's married, graduated college, living his life like a young man should because of CPR and the training that was blessed to be able to have the knowledge to know.
So the very first step we ask you to take is to call 911. If you're by yourself, if there's somebody else around you, you can have them call 911 and just say something like, "Hey, call 911," and they'll call right away. You're going to hear the dispatcher. They'll ask you some questions.
911, what is your emergency?
Excellent. So once they've asked you those questions, be sure that you're listening so help can be sent quickly and to the right place. Don't hang up the phone until the dispatcher tells you that it's okay.
Yeah, please don't hang up. I'm super important, guys.